Hello guys, and welcome back to the channel. So now guys, swords are slowly being unsheathed and the world is slowly turning round to focus its attention on the goings on within the Nigerian space, such as been the atrocities of Malam Buhari and his band of merry men, that it is near impossible now for the focus of the world to be otherwise engaged. Guys, I bring you this. ICC milestone decision paves the way for full investigation into atrocities in Nigeria. So ICC, International Criminal Court, of course, and this is a court that has already taken a position on the Lekki Tollgate incident, and an investigation is already ongoing regarding that particular incident. But then, of course, that incident barely October, several incidents again have succeeded it within the Nigerian space. So we are now at that point that the world cannot really continue to avert its eyes, and the focus is now slowly turning towards Nigeria. So again, the headline: ICC milestone decision paves the way for full investigation into atrocities in Nigeria. So now let's now see what shape this takes. The International Criminal Court ICC must immediately open a full investigation into atrocities committed during the conflict in northeast Nigeria, Amnesty International said today, as a milestone decision brought its long-standing call for justice for victims one step closer. The ICC Office of Prosecutor announced today that it was concluding a decade-long preliminary investigation into crimes against humanity and war crimes allegedly committed by Boko Haram and Nigerian security forces. This finally paves the way for a full-blown investigation to begin. After years of calling on the ICC prosecutor to open a full investigation, this is the first meaningful step towards justice that we have seen for victims of atrocious crimes committed by all parties to the conflict in northeast Nigeria, said Netsanet Bailey, Amnesty's Director of Research and Advocacy. This is an important milestone, but it must be followed with immediate action to open a full investigation. For the victims of war crimes and potential crimes against humanity to see justice, it is crucial that the prosecutor swiftly begins an effective and well-resourced investigation. So now, long overdue, the ICC's preliminary examination, started in 2010, concludes that both Boko Haram and the Nigerian military have committed crimes against humanity and war crimes, and that the Nigerian government has failed in its obligation to hold those responsible to account, echoing the findings of numerous Amnesty International reports over the years. With no genuine domestic investigation, the prosecutor can only conclude that a full ICC investigation is needed. Victims have already waited a decade for justice. The office of the prosecutor must now move swiftly to seek the judicial authority needed to initiate the full investigation. Further delay will only serve to frustrate victims and run the risk of evidence and witness testimonies being lost forever. Netsanet Bailey said, investigations must be fully resourced. The Office of the Prosecutor faces serious resource constraints to investigating and prosecuting new situations and cases, but this must not be an excuse to further delay justice. State parties to the ICC must ensure the Office of the Prosecutor has the resources needed to conduct its investigations. Nigerian authorities still have an obligation to conduct genuine investigations into allegations of war crime and crime against humanity, including by its own military. But to date, they have done everything in their power to avoid independent and effective investigation. Amnesty International is calling on ICC state parties to ensure any investigation in Nigeria is adequately resourced. So here is the background to it. The ICC Office of the Prosecutor announced a preliminary investigation into the situation in Nigeria on the 19th of October 2010. Today, the 11th of December 2020, the Office of the Prosecutor announced that it had decided to close the preliminary investigation on the basis that there is sufficient reason to conclude that both Boko Haram and the Nigerian military have committed crimes against humanity and war crimes, and that the Nigerian government has failed in its obligation to hold those responsible to account. The prosecutor now needs to submit a request to ICC judges who will decide whether or not the prosecutor may proceed with the opening of a formal investigation. The preliminary examination focused on alleged crimes under international law committed in the Niger Delta, the Middle Belt states, and in the context of armed conflict between Boko Haram and Nigerian security forces, including the crime against humanity of murder and persecution and multiple war crimes. In recent years, the preliminary examination also focused on the existence and genuineness of national proceedings in relation to these crimes. For almost a decade, Amnesty International has repeatedly documented crimes under international law and other serious violations of international human rights and humanitarian laws in northeast Nigeria. In 2018, the Amnesty International report Willingly Unable demonstrated that Nigerian authorities are not taking any genuine steps towards investigating and prosecuting crimes by Boko Haram or the Nigerian security forces, and called the ICC prosecutor to request opening of a full investigation. The ongoing armed conflict in the northeast continues to have a dire impact on civilians, as documented in a recent Amnesty International report on the atrocities and violations suffered by children and older people. Both reports directly called on the ICC to move from preliminary examination to a full investigation. Outside of the context of the conflict, Amnesty International has also exposed how Nigeria's military committed large-scale unlawful killings and attempted to conceal and destroy evidence in a clash between soldiers and the Islamic Movement of Nigeria in Zaria, Kaduna State, in December 2016. So here it is now. In December 2016, we land on, but then of course that December 2016 is one of the, if this had happened anywhere else in the world would have come to a standstill, and everybody would have sent everybody of note to that place to go and establish exactly what is going on there. But of course it is Africa, and it is especially Nigeria, and this is what they do anyway. They are always killing themselves, so why not just let them carry on killing themselves? So this particular incident that happened in Zaria in 2016, that was of course a year after Buhari took power. This incident now, by a lot of accounts, Amnesty International's NGOs in Nigeria, etc., the army took down close to 1,000, if not more than 1,000 civilians of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, the Shiites. You have to understand, of course, that they have two strands in the religion, in their religion. They have the Shiites and the Sunnis, and the majority, a good 90% of the Muslims in Nigeria, are Sunnis, and of course their mortal enemies are the Shiites. So this has to be the backdrop of all this. But they mowed down, according to a lot of reports, well in excess, at least approximately 1,000 people on that fateful day. But according to their own report, this is the investigation carried out by El-Rufai himself. He claimed that they mowed down 300 people. So by their own account, they mowed down 300. So that should by extension tell you that they mowed down tenfold more. So this is but there's no denying that it did happen. So what triggered this? The Nigerian military was saying that they attempted at their principal, which is, I think, the chief of army staff or something, and they had to defend themselves. But what a lot of our accounts are saying was that these people were on the road marching and chanting, and this guy felt they were blocking him or something, and they just waded into them. There was not sufficient enough of a provocation to unleash that level of violence to the point that 300 to 1,000 people were taken down. So this is what happened. So this has been happening within the Nigerian space since. We've all seen it happen again in Abuja when these Shiites are marching to request the release of their leader El Zakzaki, and for that march they are vested upon with AK-47. So this is the impunity that is going on within the Nigerian space. But then, of course, within the Nigerian space there are also international bodies like the Amnesty International who are documenting a lot of these things, and they are now taking it outside of Nigeria because, of course, they've come to the conclusion that no form of justice or investigation would ever take place within the Nigerian space. How can there be an investigation anyway? The people that are weighing against these people is the Nigerian state. So who is then going to investigate and then find in favor of the people that are being weighed upon? So Amnesty International now has taken it to the international scene, but the international scene, as ever, is slow to move. But that slow to move now is not helped by the relentless atrocities of the Nigerian government, and the tipping point now is what happened at Lekki Toll Gate. So that is now the trigger point, to the point now that the international community can no longer look to the other way and avert their eyes from the atrocities in Nigeria. So tick tock, the clock is ticking for the Janjaweeds that are running amok within the Nigerian space, thinking that they are the lord unto themselves. Mini gods and demigods that we have in Nigeria just mowing people down. So now the international community is now looking to open a full investigation. But then if it took them a good 10 years to do preliminaries, then really there's really no hope that that investigation is really going to have any form of momentum. And you know, of course, they say justice delayed is justice denied. So justice delayed, but will it be denied to the Nigerian people is the question. Your answer is what I'm seeking in the comment section. Come share thoughts about all this with me in the comment section. But before you come share those thoughts, click on the red subscribe button so it turns gray. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Click on like as well, because that helps with the YouTube algorithm. Once you've done all the clickings, come join me then in the comment section. Come tell me now what you're making of this international dimension that the Nigerian situation has taken. So I'll leave you here. Carry this conversation on with you in the comment section. But here I say peace.